Everyone. In today's video, we are going to discuss about TestNG Listener. So, what is TestNG Listener? So, TestNG Listener is an interface that can be implemented to extend the behavior of TestNG. So, basically, we need to implement the extended behavior of TestNG Listener, such as modifying the test result, logging test execution details, and adding custom reports, etc. So, what does it mean? That we will discuss in the next topic. Here are some common use case for TestNG Listener. The first one is test execution monitoring. What does it mean? So when our test case executes, so basically the listener will capture the TestNG Listener can be used to monitor the execution of test, such as logging the start and end time of test case or tracking the result. So what does it mean? So let's open the Eclipse first. So in Eclipse, we need to open the test output where open index.html, right click, open with browser. So I already opened it. So we are talking about this TestNG reports where we can capture the start and end time of each method. So listener task is to capture each and everything like start time, end time, how much time it has taken. So let's click on the time. So basically the listener is capturing the time, how much time this test method in this class taken. So 18 millisecond. Same way, the sign up method of mobile flow taken 7 millisecond. So we are talking about this. So the first point is test execution monitor that we have covered. The second one is custom reports. So TestNG Listener can be used to generate custom report that provide detailed information about test execution, such as number of passed, failed test or the duration of each test and taking a snapshot as well. So in this report, we can modify the existing listener, and in this test case, we can modify the existing listener and we can put uh, the operating system version, which operating system we have executed this test case, which browser and browser version we have using. So those things we can fetch by implementing those methods that we are going to see just in a moment. So the second point is custom report. So we can also take a snapshot and attach to the report as well. So the third point is test failure analysis. So TestNG Listener can be used to analyze test failures and provide detailed information about cause of the failure, such as stack trace or debug information, and can customize for failed test case retry. So basically, when any test case get failed, it will show you the failed test case, and it also show you the failed log. So the log is nothing but the stack trace that it is talking about, the stack trace. And the listener also provide the capability of retrying the failed test scenario. So what's it mean? Retry failed test case. So basically we can override the implementation of retry, and when our test cases get failed, so it will try. So it will try twice or thrice based on our implementation. So that we will see in the third step. So what are the different types of listener that we are going to cover in this video? Type of TestNG listener we are going to cover: ITestListener, ISuiteListener, IAnnotationTransformer, IAnnotationTransformer 2. And we also going to use iRetry Analyzer interface for implementing the retry. So iRetry Analyzer is not a listener, but it's the interface that we will use with the IAnnotationTransformer. So let's get started. Open the Eclipse. So let's discuss about first ITestListener. So ITestListener says it used to listen to the test event like test start, test success, test failure, etc. So what does it mean? So basically When we execute at the rate test annotated method, it captures the start time, whether the test case is passed or failed. If it is failed or passed, it's captured in the index.html report that I have showed you. Here it will capture how many test case passed, how many failed, and other detail as well. So we can override ITestListener functionality and add desired result based on our need. Like if test case is failed, then take a screenshot and add in front of the failed test case here. So those things we can implement using a ITestListener. So let's implement. So let's open the Eclipse IDE. Inside SRC folder, right click, new, create a package, com.testing.listeners. So finish. Now our package is created. Right click, new, create a concrete class, my test listener, finished. So now our concrete class is created. Let's implement the ITestListener. Implement ITestListener. So import this ITestListener of the TestNG. Now click on control, put the pointer on ITestListener interface, click. So inside this interface, you can see there are a lot of methods. On test start method, on test success method. So we are going to override on test failure method. So basically why we are going to override this on test failure, we want to take a screenshot when any test case get failed and attach to our HTML report. So that is our requirement. So let's implement, close this tab, control space. So once you click on control space, it will show you all the method details. So we want to override on test failure. So click on this, remove the internal content. Now system.out.println, inside it, first we want to mention the or capture the method which is failed. So use result as argument variable here dot get method. So it will give you the method name which is failed. Then we, we are not writing any screenshot code, so simply writing a text, take screenshot when test case failed. So we override on test failure method of ITestListener. So that's it. Let's add another SISO, the blank SISO, so that we can easily see the output in the console log. So now we have implemented. So one part is done, the implementation. Let's click on testng.xml. Just press enter after test tag. Here you can see the listener. So inside listeners, write listener. So here we need to mention our listener, which we have customized because TestNG don't know about the listener that you have created, my test listener. So we need to put the entry in the listeners tag. Once we put this entry in the listeners tag, copy the class name here, dot my test listener. So once we put the entry here inside the listeners tag, so now TestNG is aware of our listener which we have created for customization, and it will ignore the default ITestListener and consider my test listener. So it will take a screenshot when any test case failed. So let's run this whole suite, run as TestNG suite. So now the test case executed, but there is no failure. So you can find there is no log of take a screenshot in it. So you can see there is no take a screenshot log in this console because there is no test case failed. So let's make a particular test case failed. Open the end-to-end package, laptop flow, review and rating test case. So let's throw some exception deliberately. Throw new exception. So now throws exception, save it, click on TestNG XML, run as TestNG suite. So now you can see it has captured the method name, review and rating, and also it has taken the screenshot when test case failed. So basically our test case, this test case failed review and rating, and it has captured by TestNG in report this one, and our take screenshot test case failed code is executed. So now you can understand why we use listener. Now let's discuss about second listener, ISuiteListener. It is used to listen to the suite event like suite start, suite end, etc. time that it capture and put it in the report. And it so basically we want to override this ISuiteListener to capture the system detail like which operating system we are using, what are the browser we are using and its version, and put it in the report section. So let's open the Eclipse again. So right click on the listener package, click on new, click on class, my suite listener. So now we need to implement the ISuiteListener. Implement ISuiteListener. So control click on ISuiteListener. So you can see there are two methods only, on start, on finish. So basically with the help of this listener we can capture something that we want to put it in our report when the execution of suite is started and once the execution of suite is finished. So what kind of result we can capture? So let's first override on start or on finished method. So let's click on start. So remove these method content inside it. System.out.println where capturing window, capturing OS version, browser version, and user details to display on in HTML report. So that is the basically use case of ISuiteListener. So now we have implemented the listener. So basically override the on start method of ISuiteListener. So now let's implement the same thing in our TestNG XML. So open the TestNG.xml and let's copy this statement again and copy our my suite listener and paste it here. So now we entered both the listener here in our testng.xml. So let's right click, run as suite. So click on the console. Here we can see at the first line it executed, capturing OS version, browser version, and user details to display in HTML. So basically, when we use ISuiteListener on start, that is the first statement in this project which execute first. So I'm repeating again, ISuiteListener within this project or suite execute first, and then rest of the test case or at the rate before annotation executes. So that you can see before annotation, then test case, and so on. So I think you understood the ISuiteListener interface. Now let's move to the third interface, which is IAnnotationTransformer listener interface. So with the help of IAnnotationTransformer interface, we will implement the iRetry analyzer. So basically iRetry analyzer default interface try a failed test case once. So we want a particular, so basically we want to execute a failed test case thrice because of multiple reasons. Maybe the network latency, your test, there is no issue in your test script, but it has failed because of network latency. Or maybe the slowness at the server side, or maybe your system itself is slow in loading the page. So unnecessary your test case get failed, although there was no issue with the automation script. So in that case, we want to retry our failed test case. So basically to give a chance to execute properly. So in that case, we need to implement iRetry analyzer. So let's open the Eclipse IDE once again. Click on listener package, new class, my retry analyzer. So that is our concrete class. Click on finish button. Now we need to implement iRetry analyzer interface. So in iRetry analyzer, there is a unimplemented method. So add unimplemented method. So retry is the method. So basically once your test case is failed, so request goes to iRetry analyzer, where TestNG listener checks is there any implementation of retry. So it goes to retry method where it gets false. So false means no need to retry anything, let it be fail in first attempt. So we need to implement this thing. If any test case is failed, we need to return true, so that the TestNG will get to know we need to do a retry. But that retry we want to give twice or thrice. So let's implement a maximum three. So let's implement maximum three retry. So int max retry is equal to 3. Now int counter is equal to 0. So let's start with 0. So now here we need to write a code. If counter is less than max retry, send basically return true to TestNG. So before that, we need to increase the counter as well. So plus plus. So it will increase the counter value by 1. So let's say if test case get failed, so TestNG will look for the iRetry analyzer, and then it comes to retry method. So basically when it comes to retry, there is here we put max retry condition. So it goes inside if and checks, okay, counter is less than 3, so it increment and make it 1 and return true. So return true means it goes back to I retry listener, and where TestNG get to know we need to execute that failed test case once again. So it will execute again. And let's say that test case is failed again due to network latency, then again control comes back to Retry analyzer through my retry analyzer class and goes into the retry method where it will check counter 1 is less than 3. So again it will increment the counter and return true. So again it goes back to TestNG through retry analyzer, and then it will retry again failed test case method. So that is how it goes. Once the limit is exceeded to 3, then it comes back to false. So we pass the false to TestNG, then TestNG knows no need to execute this failed test case anymore, and it captures those results into the HTML report and move on. So that is the whole idea of this implementation. So one part is done. We implemented my retry analyzer and override the retry method. Now, this is the first part. We need to inform we have my retry analyzer class to TestNG that we need to do through listener. So right click on new class, my annotation transformer. So that is my transformer listener class where I need to implement IAnnotationTransformer interface. So in IAnnotationTransformer, we need to implement control space, and there is a transformer method, and we need to implement last transformer method where I test annotation. This method we need to select. There are a lot of methods, but we need to implement I test annotation argument method. So click on this. So remove the content inside it. Let me maximize this class. So now we need to inform this IAnnotationTransformer listener that we have created a new retry analyzer class, because this class, the retry analyzer interface, is not a listener. The actual listener is IAnnotationTransformer listener. So we have created a concrete class and now use this. So now use this variable annotation, paste it here, dot set retry analyzer. So here we need to mention our retry class. So our retry class name is my retry analyzer. Copy this, paste it here, dot class. So now the IAnnotationTransformer listener class get to know there is a class that we need to use during retry. So it will not look for the default retry analyzer, it will look for the my retry analyzer. So this is the second part. Now third part is to list this my annotation transformer class into the testng.xml under listener tag, so that testng will pick this listener. So copy the package name, paste it here, dot class name, paste it here. Now save it. This is done. So we already declared one method in a laptop class flow, throw new exception, so that test case will fail, and our retry listener will try to execute thrice and then capture it in the index.html report. So let's execute the whole suite, run as TestNG suite. So now it has executed, and in the result you can see retry. So now it's retries thrice, and test case is failed one, but it put retry. So the good thing about retry is it is not including the retry in the pass and fail counting. So because of failure and retry, it is not modifying any additional or adding any additional test case into the pass and fail. Although it has increased the 3 count on the run side, but in the pass and fail, it maintains the number of test annotated method count. So that is, so now you become a champion in TestNG listener. So keep practicing and watch this video for motivation. Thank you everyone.